Hey everyone, and welcome to the SAP Tech YouTube channel. In today's explainer, we're going to tackle one of the most fundamental, absolutely essential components in the entire SAP landscape, the IDoc. So if you're a developer, a consultant, or maybe you're just curious about how all these different SAP systems actually talk to each other, you are in the right place. We're going to break this whole thing down piece by piece so you walk away knowing exactly what an IDoc is and why it's so darn important. All right, so let's just start with the big question, right? In any big company, you've got all these different systems that have to share information all the time. We're talking sales orders, invoices, customer data, you name it. So how do you make sure all that communication is standardized, that it's reliable, and that you can track it? Well, that's where the IDoc comes in. It stands for Intermediate Document, and you can just think of it as SAP's universal translator. It's a standardized data package, a container, that's built to move information between different systems, making sure that everybody is speaking the exact same language. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, here's the game plan. We'll start with what an IDoc actually is, then we'll dissect one to see what it's made of. After that, we'll follow its journey, leaving one system and arriving at another. And then we'll cap it all off with some real-world troubleshooting tips. So at its very core, the IDoc is the absolute backbone of data exchange in the SAP world. You'll see it in two main flavors. ALE, which is Application Link Enabling for SAP talking to other SAP systems, and EDI, Electronic Data Interchange, which is for talking to the outside world, non-SAP systems. Now, to really get how an IDoc works, we've got to pop the hood and see what it's made of. And it turns out that every single IDoc, no matter what kind of data it's carrying, is built from three core parts. And those three parts are the control record, the data records, and the status records. Each one has a very specific and critical job to do. Let's break them down. Okay, let's kick things off with the control record. Seriously, just think of this as the envelope for our message. It's got all the address information, who sent it, where it's going, and what kind of message it is, like, is it a purchase order or an invoice? Every IDoc has exactly one of these, and it lives in the database table EDIDC. So if the control record is the envelope, then the data records, well, that's the actual letter inside. This is the good stuff, the actual business data, the item numbers, the quantities, the prices. This information is neatly organized into chunks called segments, and it's all stored in the EDD table. And last, but definitely not least, we have the status records. These are your tracking updates, just like when you order something online. They create this perfect audit trail of the IDoc's entire journey, telling you exactly where it is and what's happened to it at every single step. You'll find these in the EDDIS table. Okay, so we've dissected the IDoc. Now let's actually follow one on its journey as it gets created and sent out from a system. This is what we call the outbound journey. As an IDoc is getting ready to go, its status changes. It starts with a 0-1. Boom, it's created. You might see it sit at status 30 for a bit, which just means it's waiting in line to be sent. But the magic number you're looking for, the big success code, is 03. When you see that, you know it's officially left the building. But hold on, the journey's not over. Once it leaves, it has to land somewhere, right? So let's see what happens when it arrives at its destination and gets processed. This is the inbound side of the story. All right, on the inbound side, when that IDoc first arrives, it gets a status 50. It's been added. The ultimate goal, the big win, is status 53. That means the application document was posted. It worked. It's done. But if you see a status 51, that's the big red flag. That means there's an error that someone needs to investigate. Yeah, in a perfect world, everything would just be status 03 on the way out and 53 on the way in, right? But things go wrong. So let's get into the nitty-gritty, how to fix common problems, and a few pro tips to make your life a whole lot easier. Okay, here's a classic one you'll see all the time. Your outbound IDoc is just stuck. It's sitting there in status 30, ready for dispatch, and it's not going anywhere. What's the deal with that? So this usually boils down to one of two things. First, your system might not be set up to send IDocs out right away. The fix? You just need to schedule a standard program, RSOU00, to pick them up and send them out in batches. Or, if it's from a custom program, you've got to make sure your developer's code is actually finishing the job by committing the work and releasing any locks. All right, now for the inbound side's biggest headache, status 51, application document not posted. The IDoc made it through the door just fine, but the system couldn't use the data inside it to create the business document. what do you do?
This is super important, so listen up. A status 51 error is almost never an interface issue. It's a data problem. Maybe the material number doesn't exist or the customer is blocked. The interface team can't fix that. The business or application team has to fix the actual data. And once they do, you can just reprocess the IDoc using transaction BD87. No big deal.
Okay, to wrap things up, let me give you 3 killer pro tips. First, bundle your IDocs. Don't send them one by one. Use packet processing. Second, process them in the background, preferably during off-peak hours. And third, please, please, please archive your old IDocs regularly. It keeps your database clean and fast.
Whew, that was a whirlwind tour, wasn't it? Look, there's a ton more technical detail we could get into. So for all that good stuff, including links to specific SAP notes and deeper dives, make sure you check out all the information in the description below.
And hey, if this explainer helped you and you want to see more content that demystifies complex SAP topics just like this, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you join us here on the SAP Tech channel. Thanks so much for watching.